Good morning. I can hear. Give me a second. There we go. Okay. So the last few days, as you know by now, we're just having these up and down moves in relatively wide ranges. And it's unusual because, the beginning earlier in the week, we were talking about these wide range bars being power bars and the weakest link. And it happened multiple times, meaning, years ago, we used to call this Christmas tree pattern. So it's not something that hasn't happened before where you get up bar, down bar, up bar, down bar. It's a consolidation with wider ranges. And as we look at it from a smaller time frame view, it looks unusual because typically, big down bars result in more move to the downside. That's what it implies. However, the prices are in an uptrend. So, as I always say, the trend gets the benefit of the doubt, especially when it's in an uptrend in multiple time frames. Now, yesterday, as you can see here, well, this is actually today. We look at spiders. They didn't retrace all the way back. Um, so well, we're going to see if this eventually breaks. But you can see, this morning things are just kind of quiet. Um, Maybe traders are tired of the whips ups and the whips down. It does create opportunities on a short-term basis, intraday, which is good. Um, but at some point, all consolidations resolve themselves one way or another, right? Meaning breakout or breakdown, and trend being up, we would assume breakout. Well, we wait, set alerts at the bottom, set alerts at the top, and we see which way it's going to go. Um, Now the Qs came back. These are the futures. They came back quite a bit more than the others. Um, so more buying on the dip, wider bar, bottoming tail bar. If you can get above the highs, that's a go with that it should go higher. New all-time highs. We see what happens. Now, this is, you know, what we call a 1, 2, 3 sort of a pattern. However, it's after prices have been moving up. So it's not the highest probability type of a pattern. So for example, if we look, down here, it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's not ideal either, but at least it's happening near support after a pullback. So this was an erratic time where, the new high and a deep retracement, consolidation, deep retracement, and then that started that move. So when we look at patterns, we put it in the context of, the trend, support, resistance, and, what kind of movement preceded it to increase the probability. So when I see, a wide range bar and I see buying on the dip, there was a bit of a whippy consolidation. It makes me think mm, it could be a whippy move, but hey, thinking is not reality as to what will happen. It's just a thought based on historical price patterns. In any event, if it takes out that high, it would imply that it should continue to go higher, and ideally not take out the bottoming tail bars low. In addition, yesterday's down move was accompanied by a pretty potent and convincing AD number at the close. So the selling was pretty substantial throughout the day and right into the close. We can, as I scroll over here, see, look at the difference here. The last time we had an AD number at the close was after a pullback. So that's more of a capitulation scenario, whereas we're getting this kind of number in a consolidation. So Selling is increasing, still haven't had any kind of confirmation of a violation of any support on the daily time frame. But all of this whips ups and down, and you can see my cursor there on SPY versus the futures there. All of this whips ups and down is creating a substantial support area consolidation. So if it was to break down below that, it would be pretty significant. So we're waiting to see. We're in a holding pattern. Government closed down, you know, more of that. Do they resolve it? Does it continue? And so on. Right? No economic reports, no Fed this or that, and so on. Now, however, for whatever reason, interest rates are dropping, quite a bit this morning, down toward the bottom of the range here. And they got plenty of room to go down. So certainly there's negatives and positives to that. And so as it's moved up and now it's stabilized, it did its damage in the home builders, which got, you know, pretty well smashed, from the high down here. And now you can see they're bouncing quite a bit. So this is the beginnings of maybe putting in a low. It's too early, because momentum move, kind of like a bear flag, right? And it was kind of a long one. But anyway, next down move. So we'll be watching these to see if they stabilize here. Right now, it's just a gap up because interest rates are moving down. So shorts are, covering, and I would assume, but it's not a directional kind of a move. It's not even a put spread move because it's the beginning of the day, and we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. All right, other futures markets. Now, so here's the Dow futures. Now, ideally, I wish, wishes are based on wanting something to happen that puts the odds overwhelmingly in our favor. So when I say I wish, the Dow would have come down here to this pivot low. And this is something I mentioned in the green room yesterday. So these colored backgrounds display the overnight trading. And I've always, over the years, found it uh, kind of not so much confusing, but the fact that you have this overnight trading and it's out of alignment with when you look at, say, the Dow, or if you're looking at ES and looking at SPX or SPY, that you see a swing low, and you can't ignore it. But this is happening on lower volume. It dropped down, whereas this pivot low you see in the white area, that happened during the trading day. So I view that as being more significant, and that low is where the Dow held yesterday. You can see over here. So, we look for as many guidelines that put the odds in our favor. And somebody can say, well, that's our edge and so on. But so here's the trading that's going on right now, and the big down move from yesterday, which opens up the door, which we've been seeing throughout the week, you know, down big, go back up, down big, go back up. So down big, maybe this is a long, it goes back up. Here's the wide range bar. It's on the rising 20. It's in some support. So maybe this market is one, right, that we can trade long today, for that to move back up. Um, this got this swing low here, yesterday's low, and down several days in a row. So the moment I'm not thinking in this market, and this point of view of shorting, because that swing low is pretty close by and it would have to drop through this overnight trading there. So ideally, it's like, let's have an up day. We'll see what happens. All right. So the Russell Christmas tree kind of pattern, down, up, down, maybe up. the range is getting tighter. So let's just say the battle between buyers and sellers, supply and demand, is tightening up here. It's Friday. Which way is it going to go? We'll see. You know, pivot highs, pivot lows. It's like, what's the point in trying to trade this if there isn't room for it to move some significant amount like this, moving down hard, stabilizing, and you know, and back up again. So if you like to draw lines, through the pivots, you would see the lines are beginning to converge. I call that winding the spring, where you know winding springs eventually break. So today may just be some more winding, consolidation, running in place, going nowhere. Uh, Gold had pretty substantial down day. Trend is still up, and we apply the same information to whatever it is. What changes is you have to make adjustments to your money management when ranges are so big, meaning smaller positions, or you just don't trade it if it's too wild. So this is down on some support. It's stabilizing, beginning to form a little pullback pattern. You can see, here, but whipping, right? Down, up, down, up. This is like a Alka-Seltzer pattern, right? So what we want to see as price pattern traders, once we create a bias, is that things tighten up. What does tighten up mean? That means that the consolidations between the bars and the pivots get closer together and start to form patterns that are more, I don't know, reliable, understandable. So on this higher time frame, this is quite understandable to me, right? But I want to trade it ideally from the smaller time frame. And so momentum down, retest up, takes out the pivot, and pulling back here. So this to me is a scalper long if I get the pattern on the smaller time frame to move up toward resistance, recognizing that this is extended and it was a nasty down move. But we've seen this week how often a wide range bar is the weakest link and prices can go back up again. So we're going to see how it plays out. Um, Silver, there you go. Big, nasty, right? High breakthrough. It's moving back up again. And so this is for me, just stay the hell away, you know, too erratic. Um, I see oil is down. See a little chart there. And oil had reached this resistance area that we covered yesterday. We talked about the breakdown and then the move up into here. So now oil is breaking down. The news earlier in the week was Saudi government was increasing supply, good for inflation, good for lots of things. Doesn't imply um, potentially less demand. So if there's less demand and economy slowing, we hear of job growth slowing, more people unemployment, and so on. So if oil goes down, maybe interest rates go down. So good and bad to that. So we'll see. Yeah. 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 So I was looking at the 10-year, but yeah, the 30-year here. What did I do here? Here's the breakdown. And, we could look at the bonds, and there's the bond prices. You can see big up move. So as bonds go up, and they look like they're going to go higher, that means interest rates are going to go down, which will help the home builders. And theoretically, I mean, interest rates going down is good for equities, but we see that this whipping up and down. Which horseman has the best odds for a big move? Let me ask the Qs. Well, I think if they can break out above here, so what what we do here at Master Trader as price pattern traders, we take our foundational concepts and we wash, repeat, right? So the analysis is always the same. What's the trend? Where's support? Where's resistance? Where's the void? How do prices act at resistance? And I see this sideways movement at resistance, and that's bullish. So you move my cursor over the daily chart, it's right up there near the highs. So if it can take out those highs, the same thing I mentioned about looking at the futures, it implies it's going to go up. So if this gets ripping at the open right through here, I got to look to buy pullbacks or continuation patterns. Ideally, I'm always looking to buy near support, which, in alignment with the big picture bias. So we'll see what the markets provide. Bitcoin is up here. It's been pulling back, more whippy price action, government shutdown, big government debt, people buying gold hand over fist in Bitcoin. Is the government going to, collapse under the debt and putting a safe place to put your money and all that? We've heard this story for decades. More serious today, no doubt, but it is what it is. All right, let me get to SPY. Right, so we see where prices are at. They're gapping up a little bit into the range there. A little bit of room to go up maybe to the top of the range, and you know, there are the numbers for today as far as extremes go. So gapping up a little bit, even if it's a down day, it's under 6,700, which has been significant, and the high volume strikes have been spot on, as they usually are, giving us guidance to where the day's range should be. There you have it. We'll see how the day unfolds. As always, all yours, Dan. And social media, give us a few likes and thumbs up. Dan and I give you great information every day, some education and what's going on.
Good morning. Happy Friday. So I only have one alarm going off. So I thought I'm going to start with going through all opens because we don't have much open. So I hear Microsoft says a put spread idea for today since I'm there. Oracle did a put spread yesterday. Now last Wednesday we did a MT live on the turn. And this is a beautiful example of a multi-bar turn with the bottoming tail being the kicker. And then you had an inside bar and then a breakout. So, it's kind of a pseudo W, but retest. And so we did a put spread, maybe 30-minute high, a day trade, or even directional if we use breakout. Because that has the void up to 320. Call. We put on a call spread yesterday, and under yesterday's low, it could be a day trade short for sure. I guess wasn't sure about the target on the swing. At 205 is best case, I think. Like Gemini, we're both long stock and put spread. And this is a beautiful pattern to add over yesterday's high. Or enter if you're not in. Let's set an alarm. 2605. Interactive broker. We did a put spread yesterday. That's gapping up. Looks great. And that's it. Those are the only four Reddit spreads, although we've had a very busy 2 week 2 week period. Now we have 6 open positions in the advisory. Believe it or not, even though the markets are very strong, we have 4 shorts and 2 longs. Gemini, I just mentioned, was one of them, long, and Jemiah. Jemiah's looking great. Inverse head and shoulder and an uptrend. And you can add yesterday's high if the markets are holding. Shorts, Airbnb, shorted that little breakdown on Wednesday. It's doing nothing here. If it closes like this, then what I'm going to do into the close is we'll short an out of the money put to increase our cost basis. That's called a covered put. So opposite of a covered call. Dow, bear 1, 2, 3 was shorted yesterday. I shorted this at 22.19, so we're up just a few pennies. MGM we're short, we're in trail mode, have a third left. It held stop by like a penny yesterday. So that's fine, opening flat, and then VNT, we're in trail mode. Looks fantastic. So those are all the opens. Let's go to earnings here. And then the interest list. Apple at 30. Wow, that's big. So that, Don, you know what I'm going to say. That's a 0 DTE call spread 30-minute low. Idea. But that's my bias as of right now. Levi, $22. It's a big gap. It's knocking out, 6 weeks of data. So I'm going to put that on my list of possible excessive gap for 0 DTE put spread. APOG, looks like a headache pattern to me. But if you can sell 44 calls, I would do that. Pike, opening flat. Don't like yesterday's tail. We can find better. So that's it there. Hey, Greg and I were talking pre-market. Even with the markets the way they're doing with the narrow breadth, there's a lot of things getting killed. He mentioned XHP. Look at some airlines here had bullish breakouts. Look how that ended yesterday. So a lot of weak things, ton of FIMOs and gold and silver. And look at WIGMI, which is the ETF for miners. Look at this freaking move. Now, if we would take the candlesticks off the charts, these moving averages are saying this thing's been on a tear. Look how they're growing far apart. So that, I don't know. I have no idea how much more that's. This one does not have weeklies, or else this would be a beautiful 0 DTE call spread as a gapping crap. So keep an eye on that. The nuclear stocks and the quantum computing have been on a tear. The materials have been on a tear. I wrote some of these down. No, LFS is just a recent IPO. Look at USAR. Look at that gapping up. Another 10%. Look at these. So few sectors have been flying. METC, that 30-minute low would be a 0 DTE. Or use here, just I guess daily, weekly, monthly are insane, but there's nothing to do with them. Now MP is definitely lagging. So There's just no pattern. That's the cough. We're shorted. GM we're in. Gemini we're in. I was just watching those pre-market on WAI. Look at that. That's a big igniting gap. Let's watch that 30-minute high. Wiggling. T-Dot, if we can get another 1 or 2 inside days, then I would like it. Wolf, someone in the room here mentioned this gap yesterday, and I said it's bullish. I said watch it pull back. That's gapping up, but I was hoping for 1, 2, 3. MSauce we're in. Look at Iran. Here's another. This is another gap and crap candidate. Done 0 DTE. Iran. Let's. Iran. Look at Rocket Lab. Man, it's a rocket. SLE, igniting gap, but no entry. IBZ. It showed a gap up, but now it's flat, but that's a bull flag. USNA getting killed. Possible put spread, 30-minute high. Disney, I have as a short watch under yesterday's low. Microsoft, put spread watch. App goes on the list. Yep. Yeah, no, that looks fantastic. I got my alarm. I got it over here, right here. We know about Oracle. Look, Greg nailed this thing yesterday. This was a textbook gap and crap. When you a gap and crap is a Climo, and then just a monster gap. So I wanted to sell call spreads and also day trade short. And look how much that thing fell. Incredible. So fell $17 from the open. Yeah, curves on my list. Yeah, I was watching that the last 2 days. Yeah, that looks great. A circle is on my list. I got an alarm. ANET, we were trying to sell a put spread yesterday. We did not get filled. You know what? It gotten filled on that tail. I'm gonna go take a look at the snow. 1, 2, 3 was on my list. That looks good. Qs are moving, so yeah, snow looks good. CMG is a bottoming pattern. I got an alarm. XME materials is another Climo. Look how far the stock is from those moving averages. From LOW, there's no turn. So see, this is not a Climo because it's parallel to the 20. Climos accelerate. So that's just some nasty selling there. ABBV, I got an alarm, buy setup, and SFM. There's no turn, but it's a put spread idea over the weak side. And I just had a circle alarm go off, hit my 153 alarm. Yeah, let's watch it. Put that in the window. Start going. That looks great for Monday. It closes like this, or 30-minute highs is okay also. I'm just telling you what I prefer. Jimmy Jimmy can't get moving. I just had a low alarm. It's an early alarm, but step lower now. Merc. Yeah, the buy seven. Yeah. I wouldn't expect a new high with these overlapping bars, but if it goes to 89, another trade. It's Apple. Well, see, this is not a good gap and crap at all because it's gapping from consolidation. So I would not be shorting that one, but that's what's Iran doing. Iran, see that. So Don, compare the size of this gap to DGNX. The bigger the gap, the better. Far from the 20. So Iran still could be a zero DTE, but I would not do a 7 day on this because it's still strong. And look at the pre-market. I forget what they do, but man, that thing's rocking. Here, this circle I'm liking. Um, I'm not buying it right here. Just rip $6 freaking dollars. But if it closes like this, then that's a swing. So ideally, we get a $2 to $3 pullback. I'm going to put a circle here, but I will do a put spread now for next week. Check. ABBV alarm. Or I would do a zero DTE on this, the 150s. And this one has juice all the time. 51 by 75. So next week, I would do the 145s. Wow, it's massive. Man, but they're too spready.
BCE is a bottoming pattern. Trying to take out some resistance, maybe whatever, 20-minute high or something, give it a little time.
ECE, I don't get.
BCE.
I'm not getting it.
Boy Charlie Edward. Telecom Services.
White Charlie Edward.
Wow, type it in.
All right, that's Bravo, not white.
Whatever. Clean your ears, Gibby.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, hold on, let me tell the weekly. You can get so far away on this. Back to circle here for a second. Man, I can do the 130s. 90 cents. But the spreads are a problem. All right, so on BCE, let's do a half lot. I like that it's retracing now. I like that it's retracing. So let's do half lot, 5-minute high, half lot, 30-minute high. Give the stop 2316 at 200 MA. Monster alarm. Ah, look at that. 70 alarm went off on Monster Mash. There's circles pulling in. Jemiah low alarm. A little swirling. ED line gapped up. Looks like almost 1,000. Interactive broker up alarm. MGM still weak. Nice. Remember when it was rallying yesterday? I was asking, should we just kill it now? I'm like, nah, we only got a third left. Let's move it over to this base. And that sure worked. Yeah, it would be 30-minute low. But let's see what the premium